The movie begins by introducing a man in his 30s named Ki-woo. He does not have a house, a car, or a job. Despite this, he has a wife named Ji-suk, 2 children, and another baby on the way. The family consists of Ki-woo, Ji-suk, their daughter Yoon-ai, and their son Taek-ai. They live as drifters, moving from place to place with no set plans for the future. Most nights, the children are forced to sleep on cold bathroom floors. The family's access to food is inconsistent, as they eat properly on some days but go hungry on others. They've been living this way for several years. The opening scene shows the 4 of them crossing into a restricted area. They eventually stop at a highway rest area. They appear tired and quiet, attempting to blend in with the other travelers. Ki-woo scans the area before choosing a random couple to approach. He tells the couple a fabricated story about losing his wallet. He claims he only needs 20,000 won, or about $15, to top up his gas so he can get his family home. The couple checks their wallet but lies, saying they do not have any cash. At that exact moment, Yoon-ai and Taek-ai wander over to Ki-woo. They tug at him and ask when they can finally go home. Seeing the children causes the woman in the couple to soften her stance. She offers to transfer the money to him electronically, but Ki-woo claims his phone is broken. The woman then hands him the cash. Ki-woo takes the money and promises that he will pay her back later. Immediately after receiving the money, the family goes to buy instant ramen for their dinner. Instead of leaving the rest stop, they disappear into a nearby wooded area. They set up a small tent among the trees to sleep for the night. It is revealed that the family survives entirely off the kindness of strangers. They have no intention of repaying anyone and simply repeat the same lie to different people. The next morning, a worker finds their tent and tells them camping is not allowed. Ki-woo tells the worker they will pack up soon. However, as soon as the worker leaves, Ki-woo tells his family to go back to sleep. Later, the family uses the public bathrooms at the rest stop to wash up. This has become their daily routine. Ki-woo uses the remaining money to buy a single meal for the entire family to share. No one in the family complains because they have become accustomed to this lifestyle. Ki-woo then takes Yoon-ai back to the rest stop area. They wait for the next person who might be willing to help them. He eventually approaches a well-dressed couple and tells them the same story about the lost wallet. The man in this couple does not immediately give him money. Instead, he begins asking Ki-woo specific questions about where he lives and where his car is parked. Ki-woo tries to provide a quick excuse, but the man becomes suspicious. The man refuses to give him any money and walks away. This leaves Ki-woo standing there with nothing. While they are at the rest stop, Yoon-ai notices another boy eating a corn dog and becomes very hungry. To deal with her hunger, she drinks water from a toilet sink. A middle-aged woman named Young Seon notices this and warns the girl that the water is not safe. Yoon-ai freezes and then runs away without saying anything. Later, as Young Seon sits down to eat, she sees Yoon-ai and Taek-ai staring into the diner from outside. The sight of the children worries her deeply. As Young Seon prepares to leave the rest stop, Ki-woo approaches her. Young Seon hesitates at first, but the rest of the family soon gathers around her. She pulls out 20,000 won for them. However, after hearing that the children have not eaten all day, she decides to give them more. She pulls out a 50,000 won note and tells Yoon-ai to take it. Ki-woo appears very surprised by the larger amount. He initially tells her that the smaller amount is sufficient for their needs. When Young Seon insists that the family take the larger amount of money, Ki-woo instructs his daughter to accept the 50,000 won note. He quickly asks Young Seon for her bank account number. He repeats his promise that he will transfer the money back to her later. The money Young Seon gave away was originally intended for her own gas. However, as she watches the children hold the cash like a lifeline, she convinces herself she has done the right thing. That night, the family is able to eat a high-quality meal. They even order a meat patty, which is a rare occurrence for them. Most of their days consist of only eating instant ramen. The family laughs louder than usual and dances around their campsite. However, the next morning arrives quickly. The same police officer from before returns to their location. He reminds Ki-woo that he has already been warned to take the tent down and leave. Ki-woo tries to argue with the officer, claiming that they are simply resting at the rest stop. The officer refuses to listen and begins dismantling the tent himself. During the struggle, the tent collapses and is destroyed. With their only shelter gone, the family has no choice but to move on. As they begin to leave, Taek-ai throws a tantrum. He refuses to walk and claims that his leg hurts. Yoon-ai quickly goes after her brother to calm him down. She hands him a sweet, which immediately changes his mood. The family continues walking along the railway through the dark night. They drag their bags behind them, heading nowhere in particular. At the same time, in Seoul, Young Seon and her staff are seen packing up a small restaurant. The restaurant is closing down, so they load chairs, tables, and equipment onto a truck. They move the items to a warehouse. It is revealed that Young Seon and her husband run a small furniture storage shop. They collect, refurbish, and resell used furniture for a living. The next morning, Ki-woo's family is still walking. Because Ji-suk is pregnant, Yoon-ai helps carry her mother's belongings. The young girl's arms ache and her steps slow down, but she does not complain. By nightfall, they find an abandoned building and decide to stay there. Ki-woo feels relieved because the building is fully sheltered from the wind and the police. To him, finding this spot feels like winning the lottery. However, Yoon-ai is unable to sleep. Strange noises echo through the empty building and a bad dream jolts her awake. Not long after, a heavy rain begins to fall. The rain pours through the night and the temperature drops. While the building blocks the rain, it cannot block the chill. The family does not have thick clothes, so they shiver in the dark together while waiting for morning. Early the next morning, young Seon visits a memorial for her son. Years have passed since his death, but her grief has not softened. She still misses him deeply and finds herself unable to move on. Later that day, Ki-woo is back at a different highway rest stop. He begins approaching couples with the same story he always uses. While he is doing this, young Seon happens to pull into the same rest stop. She watches him from a distance, and her initial sympathy is replaced by irritation. To avoid being recognized, she puts on a mask and sunglasses to continue observing the family. Nearby, Yoon-ai and Taek-ai are playing hide-and-seek. Taek-ai decides to hide from his sister by running into the parking area. He crawls under a large truck, thinking it is a perfect hiding spot. Yoon-ai eventually heads toward the car park looking for him. Just as Yoon-ai enters the parking lot, the truck driver returns to his vehicle. Yoon-ai spots her brother under the truck and panics. She screams and runs in front of the vehicle to stop it from moving. Before an accident can occur, young Seon rushes in. She grabs Yoon-ai and pulls her away just in time. Shaken by the event, she brings both children back to their parents. Young Seon looks directly at Ki-woo and asks if he remembers her. She reminds him that she previously gave them 70,000 won. She tells him she knows the truth and that their situation is an act. Ki-woo does not flinch or admit the truth. He pretends not to recognize her at all and coldly tells her to go on her way. This reaction causes young Seon to become angry. She takes out her phone and calls the police to report the family. The moment Ki-woo realizes what she is doing, he grabs the children and begins to run. His wife, Ji-suk, follows close behind. While trying to dodge an oncoming car during the escape, Ji-suk stumbles and falls to the ground. She begs young Seon to forgive them. She explains that they only scam people to feed their children. Young Seon hesitates but eventually lets her go. When the police arrive later, young Seon reports everything that has happened. The officer explains that there have already been many similar reports about this family. The officer tells her it is difficult to identify them because they move around, and most victims do not pursue the case. He then asks young Seon to follow him to the station to help create a sketch of the suspects. Meanwhile, the family returns to the highway. After all the running, Ki-woo starts to feel lightheaded and his frustration boils over. Without warning, he snaps and completely loses control, thrashing around. His wife grabs him and screams for him to stop, trying to calm him down. The children watch the outburst in fear. They eventually break down in tears because they do not recognize their father in this state. Later that night, the children go to a convenience store for dinner. They are having cup noodles again. Yoon-ai picks up a small bag of kimchi, but Taek-ai insists on having a snack instead. When Yoon-ai says no, the boy throws a loud tantrum. Exhausted, Yoon-ai gives in and grabs the snack. At the counter, they realize they are 1,001 short for the total. The clerk tells them they must put something back. Yoon-ai tells Taek-ai to put the snack back, but the clerk hesitates. Seeing their situation, the clerk quietly pays the difference himself. The children leave the store happily with their food. While walking back to their spot, Yoon-ai slips and drops a cup of noodles. Before she can react, her mother picks it up and says she will eat the dropped food instead. When they sit down, they realize their tent is completely gone. With no other choice, they are forced to sleep in a public bathroom for the night. During the night, Yoon-ai quietly tells her father that she wants to go to school. She expresses a desire to learn how to read and write. Ki-woo listens but tells her he already did those things and still ended up in this position. Yoon-ai insists she just wants a chance to try. Hearing this, Ki-woo apologizes to her and calls himself a loser for being unable to send her to school. The next day, police officers approach Ki-woo. They inform him that he has been reported for theft and fraud. He insists they have made a mistake. With no other options left, Ki-woo distracts the police for a brief moment, then suddenly grabs Yoon-ai and runs. For a moment, he manages to escape the officers. Then, the police spot them again while they are hiding behind a parked car. The car pulls away, leaving them with nowhere left to run, and they are caught. Moments later, Ji-suk steps forward and tells the police to take her as well because they are a family. At the station, Ki-woo is questioned about scamming people. When the officer asks Yoon-ai to write her name, she freezes because she does not know how. The officer is surprised that the children are unable to read or write even though they are 5 and 9 years old. Young Seon is then called in to testify. Ki-woo claims he has never seen young Seon before and accuses her of making false claims. However, the CCTV footage clearly shows her handing money to him. He is also linked to a redevelopment fraud case. Even with this evidence, he insists none of it is his fault. When officers ask if Ji-suk is his accomplice, Ki-woo immediately says she has nothing to do with it. Because he has no fixed address, the police decide to detain him. Ji-suk asks to be locked up with her husband, but the detective refuses, stating the station is not a campsite. As young Seon turns to leave, she sees Ji-suk and the children sitting by the entrance of the station. She forces herself to walk away, but her conscience pulls her back. She turns around and tells the family to follow her. Young Seon takes them to her furniture warehouse for the night. Inside, rows of chairs, tables, and sofas fill the large space. She shows them a small employee room they can sleep in and a kitchen where they can cook. She begins grilling meat for them, and the children's eyes light up. It has been a long time since they have eaten meat. She even makes a wrap for Ji-suk, providing them with the best dinner they have had in a long time. That night, Ji-suk and the children finally have a roof over their heads. But when young Seon tells her husband, Do-han, about the situation, his mood changes. He is clearly unhappy and tells her they should not let strangers stay there. The next day, young Seon introduces her husband to Ji-suk and the children. Upon seeing them, his heart softens and he does not chase them out. Later, young Seon gently tells Ji-suk that the children should be in school. She takes them to a stationery store and buys textbooks and supplies for them. Ji-suk feels uneasy accepting so much help, so she starts cleaning the shop to earn her keep. Later, young Seon sits with Yoon-ai and begins teaching her how to read and write. As she teaches, memories of her own lost son quietly resurface. Tears well up in her eyes, but she keeps going. That evening, they eat takeout together. Taek-ai happily says it is the best noodles he has ever eaten. As the boy eats, Do-han casually wipes food from his mouth, showing how fond he has become of the child. At the same time, Ki-woo is locked up in detention. He mutters angrily and blames young Seon for their situation. He insists she was the one who pretended to be kind and gave them extra money when he did not ask for it. Another inmate tells him to shut up, and when Ki-woo keeps mumbling, the man kicks him. Something inside Ki-woo snaps. After being kicked by the other inmate, Ki-woo reacts by biting the man. He is immediately dragged away by officers and placed into a solitary cell. Inside the cell, Ki-woo begins acting in a very strange manner. Foam begins to spill from his mouth, and his body starts shaking violently. The officers panic and attempt to restrain him. However, the moment they loosen their grip, Ki-woo bolts away from them. He sprints through the police station and climbs over walls with ease. He successfully disappears by hiding inside a large trash bin. He has managed to escape from police custody. The next day, Taek-ai asks to go with Do-han and his assistant to deliver furniture. Yoon-ai stays behind at the warehouse with Ji-suk to help clean the shop. While they are working, young Seon learns a concerning fact. She discovers that Ji-suk is 7 months pregnant but has not seen a doctor once during the pregnancy. Alarmed by this, young Seon insists on taking her to a clinic. At the clinic, the doctor explains that the baby is in an upside-down position. The doctor warns that Ji-suk's health is weak and there is a high chance the baby could arrive early. Ji-suk begins to worry about the situation. Young Seon squeezes her hand and tells her that everything will be okay. Meanwhile, Do-han is out on a furniture delivery. He tells Taek-ai to stay inside the car for safety. However, the boy ignores the warning and suddenly appears hiding beneath a piece of furniture. As the men struggle to keep the heavy furniture steady, it slips and falls on the boy. Do-han panics and rushes Taek-ai to the hospital. Fortunately, the injury is not serious and the boy has only pulled a ligament. Despite the minor injury, young Seon feels guilty that this happened while the boy was in their care. She scolds Do-han for not paying enough attention to the child. Do-han snaps back, explaining that the boy ran in so suddenly there was no time to react. The couple moves to a stairwell where their argument continues. Do-han finally says what he has been holding in. He tells young Seon that if she had not brought the family in, none of this would have happened. He demands that she send the family away immediately. Young Seon pushes back, accusing him of always avoiding things that make him uncomfortable. Do-han claims he knows the real reason she brought them back. He says she is trying to fill the emptiness left by their own lost son. Young Seon is hurt by this and tells him to move out if he hates the situation so much. That night, she stays in the room with Ji-suk and the kids. She asks the children if they like living at the warehouse. They nod and say their backs do not hurt anymore from sleeping on floors. Taek-ai then asks when his father is coming back. Ji-suk gently tells her son that his father will return after 100 nights. Elsewhere, Ki-woo is still on the run as a fugitive. He stops at a roadside food stall and eats very quickly. When it is time to pay for the food, he suddenly becomes aggressive. He He demands that the owner give him all of her money. The owner pulls out a knife, causing Ki-woo to panic and run away. As he flees, voices and old memories begin to echo in his head. He remembers losing everything and being chased by loan sharks. The pressure of his past and present situation finally starts to break him. He then remembers the name card that young Seon once gave him. He looks at the address of the furniture shop and decides to head there for revenge. Later, Do-han is seen drinking at a small diner while a news report plays in the background. The report announces that 200 million won in compensation is being awarded for a fire at a youth center. A person at a nearby table scoffs at the news, calling the payment unfair. Do-han snaps and a physical fight breaks out. The other patrons do not know that his son died in that specific fire or the silent pain he has carried since then. The next morning, young Seon continues her lessons with Yoon-ai, teaching her how to read. They take a short break with the rest of the group, sharing ice cream and laughing together. However, a police officer soon arrives at the warehouse. He informs young Seon that her husband is at the station following the fight at the diner. Young Seon is stunned because Do-han does not usually behave that way. At the station, the officer explains that Do-han lost his temper after hearing people gossip about the compensation. The strangers had claimed the parents took the money to live easy lives. Young Seon finally understands that her husband has been deeply affected by the loss of their son, even if he never showed it. At the same time, Ji-suk is also at the station. She asks a female officer about Ki-woo's condition. She learns for the first time that her husband escaped from custody. The officer warns Ji-suk that she must report it immediately if Ki-woo tries to contact her. Later, as Yoon-ai is walking back, Ki-woo suddenly appears and pulls her into a hug. The young girl pushes him away, noting that he smells strange. When Ki-woo mentions he is extremely hungry, Yoon-ai quietly packs some leftover food and brings it to him. He eats the food quickly and asks about Ji-suk's whereabouts. When he hears that his wife went to the station with young Seon, his face tightens with concern. He tells Yoon-ai not to tell anyone that they met. Yoon-ai excitedly tells him that young Seon has been teaching her how to read and write. Ki-woo barely listens to his daughter's news. Instead, he borrows her pen and quietly scribbles a note. That night, after young Seon and Do-han leave the store, Yoon-ai hands the note to her mother. Ji-suk reads the message and steps outside at midnight to meet Ki-woo. Ki-woo is ready to keep running with his family and asks where the children are. However, Ji-suk gives him the remaining cash they have and tells him to go on his own. She tells him that she and the children will be staying at the warehouse. Ki-woo warns her that people are scary and that she should not trust them. Ji-suk begs him to let them go for the sake of the children's future. It is a difficult decision, but she knows the children will have a better life there than as fugitives. Through tears, she tells him everything will be fine if he simply leaves them. Ki-woo is heartbroken that the family meaning everything to him is asking him to walk away. Ki-woo is devastated by his wife's request for him to leave. He refuses to accept that his family is better off without him and begins to experience a mental breakdown. He views young Seon not as a savior, but as someone who has stolen his life and his children. The next morning, young Seon and Do-han arrive at the furniture warehouse to find Ki-woo waiting for them. He is disheveled and clearly unstable. He holds a heavy stick in his hand and demands that they return his family to him immediately. Seeing that he is completely out of control, young Seon immediately calls the police. Ji-suk and Yoon-ai run out and beg Ki-woo to stop and stay calm. Taek-ai begins crying, as he is confused and terrified by his father's aggressive behavior. A physical struggle breaks out as Do-han and another employee try to restrain Ki-woo. Yoon-ai desperately begs young Seon to let them leave with their father so the fighting will stop. During the chaos, everything begins to spiral out of control. In the middle of the struggle, a fire accidentally breaks out within the warehouse. The flames spread quickly among the dry wood and refurbished furniture. Ji-suk tries to rush forward to put out the fire, but the hem of her dress catches on the flames. Seeing his wife in danger, Ki-woo's anger vanishes and is replaced by panic. He rushes to her and wraps his arms around her, trying to smother the fire with his own body. In the next moment, a large piece of heavy, burning furniture collapses on top of them. The flames surge higher, and the warehouse is filled with thick smoke and chaos. The children can only watch, helpless and screaming, as the fire engulfs the area where their parents are trapped. Soon after, the fire department arrives to battle the blaze. In the aftermath of the tragedy, it is revealed that Ji-suk survived the fire, but Ki-woo did not. Sometime later, Ji-suk gives birth to her baby, a healthy son. The family remains with young Seon and Do-han, who continue to support them. The story jumps forward to show Yoon-ai now attending a regular school like any other 10-year-old girl. She has finally learned how to read and write fluently. One day, while walking home with a friend, she notices a homeless man sitting by a stairwell. The man reminds her of her father, and without saying a word, she leaves some loose change for him. Young Seon and Do-han continue running their furniture store with Ji-suk and the children living alongside them as a single household. Life moves forward for the survivors, and they live together in a way that is much better than their time on the highway. Yunai still writes letters to her father every day, telling him about her school and her friends. She tells him how much she misses him and that she will never forget him. Even though he is no longer there, his memory remains a part of her daily life.